All right, hello there, thrill seekers. What did Dogen have to say about dreams and their meanings? We're going to talk about that after, I don't know, 6 or 7 seconds of one of my favorite Kiss riffs. All right, that was the main riff from the song She, which appears on Kiss's Dressed to Kill album. And if you're at all interested in Kiss and you want to hear something fascinating, it's probably up on YouTube. Go look up the Wicked Lester version of the song She. Wicked Lester was the band that Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons had before Kiss, and they did the song for their album, which was never released, and it's like a Santana version. It's like as if Santana had done a Kiss song. Anyway, it's kind of interesting. So I want to apologize for not doing as many videos lately. These medical treatments I've been going through have been challenging. Not horrible, or so don't worry about me falling apart or anything. But they've been difficult, and it's been hard to do anything on video. So I have to wait for a day when I feel up to it. So this is one of those days, and this is one of those videos. So I got an email from somebody who writes to me fairly regularly, Fiona, and she asked me about Dogen's take on dreams and dreaming. And ironically, I don't know if it's ironic, but anyway, somehow I had just been writing about that for that book that I keep talking about, The Zen of Godzilla. Somebody asked me the other day on a comment, like, when is that book coming out on audio? I don't even know. I have no idea. I'm still writing it, so, who knows? Who knows when it'll come out? Eventually I'll do an audiobook of it, though, so, someday. Someday is the answer. So, I'm looking at my chapter here, so forgive me for doing that. But there's two places in Shobogenzo where Dogen talks about dreams. He actually talks about dreams in a number of places, but there's two places that I like a lot. Now, one of the ways that I find a quote or something by Dogen that I've forgotten, don't remember where it was, is I have PDF files, which you can download from shobogenzo.net if you want yourself, but I have PDF files of all of the Nishijima cross translations of Shobogenzo, and I'll just do a word search. And if you do a word search on the word dream in Shobogenzo, what you mostly get, you'll get a lot of hits, but most of them are a phrase, even in a dream. So Dogen, let me see if I can find the quotes I got. Dogen says this a lot. He clearly recognizes that there is a difference between dreams and waking reality. So he often criticizes people by saying they have never seen such and such a thing, even in a dream. Here's a couple of quotes. He talks about one ancient practitioner. It seems he has never seen the point of not to commit wrongs, to practice the many kinds of right. That's a quote from a scripture, even in a dream. So he's not seen the point of that even in a dream. In another case, he says, because the teacher of sutras has never heard this, even in a dream, he does not know mountains, rivers, and the earth as mountains, rivers, and the earth. There's a lot of phrases like that. You could find dozens of them, I'm sure, in Shobogenzo, where he says so-and-so hasn't seen this or hasn't understood this even in a dream. So he does understand the difference between dreams and waking reality, but he also has this statement, which blew my mind the first time that Nishijima Roshi read it out in one of his lectures. It goes, "It may be that the state in a dream and the state in waking consciousness are equally real." This appears in an essay by Dogen in Shobogenzo called Shisho, or the Certificate of Succession. And it follows on from a story that Dogen is telling. And he's telling this story about these two weird dreams, one that he had and one that was had by a person he met. And the first one is his own dream, in which he dreamed that, I've forgotten the name, but a certain ancient master, famous ancient master, came to him and handed him a branch full of plum blossoms in bloom. Okay, and that was the dream he had. And a few days later, I'm not sure the timeline, Dogen, is in a Buddhist monastery, a Zen monastery somewhere in China, and he's talking to the teacher, and the teacher says, hey, I had this dream, and he mentions the same ancient master that Dogen had dreamed about, who said I should show I should show this. It wasn't his own certificate of succession, but it was one that was held in, I guess, storage by the temple. He said I should show this particular certificate of succession, which is the certificate you get when you become recognized as a so-called Zen master. He says, I was told I should show this to a person who has crossed the side of a ship, which Dogen did when he came to China. He came on a ship and he had to cross the side of the ship to get off the ship. Anyway, so these two weird dreams end up with Dogen being shown this certificate of succession, which has been printed on a piece of silk which has plum blossoms printed on it. So Dogen finds this very significant, and he says something about how I've never related this to anybody else, and this is not the kind of thing one would usually talk about, but he's talking about it anyway, something I do sometimes too. And he concludes with that line, let me read it again. It may be that the state in a dream and the state in waking consciousness are equally real. Now, I don't remember which a translation of Shobogenzo I found this in, but there's some translation of Shobogenzo in which the translator has altered that line to say it may be the state in this dream and the state in waking consciousness are equally real, making it refer to specifically, well, yeah, it should have said these dreams, but anyway, I don't know, making it refer specifically to that dream. But I went and looked it up in the original Japanese, and Dogen does not say that. There's a very easy way to say that in Japanese. You would say kono yume or sono yume. Yume means dream, and kono is like this or that. Sono yume, that would be that dream. They're very easy to do that in Japanese. He doesn't do that. He just says the state in dreams and the state in waking consciousness are equally real. Now, he doesn't really elaborate on that in this particular essay, but there's another essay by Dogen that I happen to like a lot, and which I believe I wrote about in my book, It Came From Beyond Zen. I'm pretty sure it's in It Came From Beyond Zen. If it's not in It Came From Beyond Zen, it's in Don't Be a Jerk. But anyway, it's called Mu Chu Setsumu. And mu means dream, and chu means within. Setsu is... Nishijima Roshi translates it in this particular case as preaching, but it's more like setsume is a common Japanese word. It means to explain. So mu chu setsumu, and mu, again, is dream. So explaining a dream within a dream, or preaching a dream within a dream. So this is an interesting essay that I like. And at the beginning of this essay, Dogen says that the phrase preaching a dream within a dream, this is the title of the essay, is the Buddha's turning of the Dharma wheel, which is his way of saying that it's authentic. This is not some BS kind of thing that somebody made up. This is real Buddhism, and we should pay attention to it. When we preach about Buddhism, this is my own writing for my Zen of Godzilla book, but I'll just read it. When we preach about the Buddha Dharma, Dogen says, we can be said to be preaching a dream within a dream. In some sense, anything we say could be considered that way. Even what I'm talking to you now, this is preaching a dream within a dream. Dogen also says, the pervasive disclosure of the entire universe is the dream state. This dream state is just the clear 100 things, and clear 100 things means just the stuff, like the ordinary stuff that's you encounter every day, like these books behind me, or my glasses, or dog poop in the street, or whatever. Everything, and the concrete things that you encounter in your real life. Those are the, let's say, what does he say? The pervasive disclosure of the entire universe. This is okay. And he says, it is also the very moment in which we doubt that it is so. It is the very moment of confusion. I really love this. This is something Dogen says a handful of times in Shobogenzo, where he says even the confusion you feel about reality is an aspect of reality, is an important aspect of reality. So even your confusion is kind of reality. Now, here's another one of these quotes from this same essay. The dream state and the waking state are each real form. They are beyond greater and smaller and beyond superior and inferior. Nevertheless, people of the past and present have misunderstood that due to the influence of preaching due to the influence of the preaching of this paramount dharma, dreams at night come true. So this is a weird statement. He's trying to say that the dream state and the waking state are equally real, but this doesn't mean what you might think it means. Like that you're going to have a dream and it's going to come true. Dreams are symbolic of usually what you're going through in your waking life. I think Nisargadatta Maharaj calls them echoes of the waking life. But and they are real, but they are not real in the same way that this is real. So there's levels of realness going on here. Quite intriguing. Now, my teacher, Gudo Nishijima, has this to say in his intro to this chapter. He says, "In Buddhist philosophy, there is an idea that our life is a kind of dream, because in everyday life we cannot recognize our life itself. In other words, our actual life is just a moment here and now, and we cannot grasp such a moment. We are living at every moment of the present, and every moment cannot be expressed in words, so we can say that we are living in something like a dream." Now, when he talks about moments, I've said this before on this channel, but I don't assume everybody's watched all of my videos. He's talking about a kshana. Kshana is this idea in Buddhism that's quite similar to an idea somebody wrote me about recently called the zeptosecond. And the zeptosecond is something that's within current physics, where they try to determine the shortest length of time possible, like to make the minimal amount of time, the time when nothing happens. It's very weird. But according to the Buddhist idea of the kshana, let's see if I can get this number right. There are 65 kshanas in the time it takes you to snap a finger, and there are 6,400,099,980 kshanas every day. I don't know where he got that calculation. Somebody told me once where they thought he got the calculation, but it doesn't really matter. It just means there's a lot. So when Nishijima Roshi and even Dogen and some of these other people are talking about the moment, they don't mean like, I don't know, I think when people usually talk about the moment, they're talking about a time, maybe 5 minutes ago to 5 minutes from now, this kind of span of time. Or maybe they're talking about a couple of seconds, but they're not talking about a zeptosecond or a kshana. That's the moment he's saying that we can't grasp because it goes by too quickly. We can't possibly see it. Dogen also says that the phrase preaching a dream within a dream does not refer to being dreamy, nor does it mean something like creating insubstantial dreamy things which do not exist at all. He says that preaching a dream within a dream is the Buddhas, and the Buddhas are wind, rain, fire, and water, which is, crazy. He's really kind of twisting our noggin around with all of this stuff. Now, the Soto Shu, which is the sort of Vatican-like organization in Japan that sort of oversees all things Dogen, and I think I was briefly a member of the Soto Shu, maybe even for about 10 years, but I never renewed or anything, so I'm not anymore. They put out a version of Preaching a Dream Within a Dream, and the introduction that they have on it says, the theme of this essay is, they're calling the Dogen stuff essays. I'm the one who started that. People used to call them fascicles and chapters and stuff. I started calling them essays. Now everybody's copying me. The theme of this essay is a common motif of the Mahayana, which Mahayana is great vehicle Buddhism, which includes Zen and pretty much every form of Buddhism except Theravada is part of the Mahayana. Anyway, it's the common motif of the Mahayana that everything, including Buddhism itself, is empty of the ontological status we ordinarily attribute to it. It exists like objects in a dream. Buddhism talks of this dream while itself being this dream. Yeah, I hate the word ontology. According to what I have to look it up every time. Every time I come across the word ontology, I have to look it up because I always forget. Ontology is the branch of metaphysics dealing with the nature of being. So I guess the Soto Shu people are saying that nothing exists in and of itself, which is definitely Buddhist teaching. But I think Dogen is getting at something more mystical and more weird than that. I think it's pretty obvious he is, and I don't know why they just leave it at that. Now, interestingly enough, I've been reading a lot of stuff in the Vedanta tradition, Advaita Vedanta tradition, and they talk about 4 states, and it's the waking consciousness, dreaming, dreamless sleep, and the Turiya state, of which Nisargadatta Maharaj, who's my favorite exponent of this philosophy, says, "It is solid, steady, changeless, beginningless, and endless, ever new, ever fresh. It is a state of pure witnessing." This is the Turiya state, the 4th one. "It is a state of pure witnessing, detached awareness, passionless and wordless. It is like space, unaffected by whatever it contains. Bodily and mental troubles do not reach it." I find this fascinating because Buddhism doesn't divide things up that way. The closest you can find is the Yogacara idea of the 8 consciousnesses, which I've talked about before. The first 5 are the 5 senses. So you have eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, well, I don't know, maybe smelling consciousness. Whatever, hearing and feeling. Anyway, whatever. The first 5 are called consciousnesses. The 6th one is manovijñāna, which is sort of mental consciousness, which sort of puts it all together and makes it into something. And then there's manas, which is the defiled mental emotional consciousness, which is the idea of your separate self. And then the last one is called alaya vijñāna, which is storehouse consciousness. And storehouse consciousness is probably the closest thing you'd find in Buddhism to the idea of turiya in Vedanta. Sometimes it's compared to the Freudian idea of the subconscious, but it goes way beyond that. It's like the repository of everything you ever did or seen or heard in all your past lifetimes and all this, whether you want to believe that or not. And it is one of the ways that Buddhism uses to explain how reincarnation can occur without a specific soul, individual soul being reincarnated. So it's way too deep to get into. But let's just bring this back to dreaming. So dreaming is kind of fascinating because in our culture, our Western culture, we're kind of taught the dreams are just something your brain does, and it's all fake, and it doesn't have any specific significance, although, you can learn stuff from your dreams. I think most Western, materialist type of people would admit to at least that much, but that the dreams are unreal. A lot of other cultures don't have that idea. And I know the Australian Aborigines, I don't know which tribe of Aborigines, but have this idea of dream time, and they take dreams very seriously. The Native Americans did. The Indians in India did, and the Buddhists do too. So there's definitely a difference between dreaming and waking reality. We don't want to mix them up or get them confused, but the dreams are another level of reality. So there's some reality to them. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you dreamed you saw your dad in a boat, that you really saw your dad in a boat. I don't know, I'm just making something up. But it doesn't mean that it's real in that way, but it means it is another way of perceiving reality that goes on during sleep. It's quite fascinating stuff. And the idea that this reality is also can be likened to another level of dreaming if viewed from a different level of reality is also fascinating, but you get kind of woo-woo if you get too far into that. So I don't like to speculate too much on what that is, but I do accept the idea that the reality that I'm living in now has multiple levels, most of which I am completely unaware of, that we can't really be aware of, but then that they are taking place simultaneously, and that there's a lot going on right here. That gets really spooky. All right, I don't know if I've explained anything, but I've gone as far as I want to today. I just thought I'd throw some of those quotes out and let you chew on them and see what you think of them. If you want to donate to me doing more of these videos like this, you can go to the URL that you're seeing on the screen below, or that you're about to hear if you're listening to the audio version, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is where you will find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts. Those are my main ways, really my only way of making a living right now. I may be asking for a little financial support from you folks in the future. We'll see, because things are kind of going that way. But for now, I'm doing all right, but I do appreciate your donations, because that is really all I got going right now. So, donate is what I'm saying if you can. But don't donate if you can't donate. That's very important too. Don't stretch yourself out just because of me. All right, we will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Hey, Boo Boo. Ziggy Boo Boo is sitting in his sunbeam, and I'm not going to bother him because it's a little chilly in here, so I think he needs his sunbeam. We'll see you later, Ziggy. Bye.